Billions in infrastructure dollars will be flowing across America. What about Louisiana? Well, we begin tonight with Chris Nakamoto and a story you just got to get the inside of. Roll it, Ed. Well, many of you may have seen the story involving the criminal justice system here in Baton Rouge and a link in the chain that apparently was broken. Well, Chief Investigative Reporter Chris Nakamoto is here with us in studio. He is the investigative reporter, and this story is amazing, man. I watched it and just thought, wow. So set this up for us. Tell us about what went on.
All right, it's an extraordinary situation. What we're seeing time and time again is judges are setting bonds for offenders who are currently out on bond. They'll get rearrested, and then another bond gets set. Yeah. So in this situation, we had an individual who was out on an ankle monitor. He couldn't afford his ankle monitor, so he went back to the court and said, I can't afford this. So the judge said, okay, we'll take it off. Well, what does he do? He reoffends while he's out without the ankle monitor, not being able to be traced. He's out on bond. It certainly struck a raw nerve with the community. They're fed up.
I want you guys to see this story. We're going to play it in its entirety right now.
First tonight, a story about how the system has failed once again. A man awaiting a murder trial accused of killing his girlfriend 3 years ago, locked up and accused of trying to shoot his new girlfriend, but this story's even more twisted. Chris Nakamoto in the investigative unit with the deal that suspect got from a judge.
Michael, in this age of inflation, costs are putting a squeeze on all of us. But when an accused murderer said he could not afford his ankle monitoring fees, the judge presiding over the case removed him from the monitoring program altogether, unleashing him unmonitored in the public.
Billy Pettis is good at one thing, staying in trouble. His rap sheet is 5 pages long and includes a long list of felonies including murder, armed robbery, battery, burglary, and theft. In 2018, Pettis was accused of killing his girlfriend, Dawn Bush. Her murder sparked outrage and a big balloon release. Pettis was arrested for murder, then released on bond and ordered to wear an ankle monitor until his trial started. Nearly 3.5 years later, he's still awaiting trial. But listen to this, he's no longer wearing that ankle monitor. Documents obtained by the WBRZ investigative unit show Pettis claimed he couldn't afford the fees for his monitoring. So Baton Rouge District Judge Ebony Johnson Rose relieved Pettis of his former court-ordered supervision.
And I want to ensure that
in a campaign video for the judge, she talks about giving people second chances.
I plan to offer alternative sentencing. Everyone does not need to go to jail.
But second chances did not work for Pettis. Problems cropped up once again. Another mugshot, this one just days ago over the weekend. Arrested again after police say he armed himself with a gun and grabbed his girlfriend by the neck. She got away. Then later shot at her car with 2 children inside. Investigators say he was mad because she stopped responding to his texts and calls.
We reached out to Judge Ebony Rose about this case. Judges typically don't talk about cases that come before them. But the public and law enforcement are frustrated that decisions that are being made in this building behind me are putting the public's safety at risk.
Last year, Police Chief Murphy Paul said this about what was happening in our community, involving other repeat offenders.
We dealt with them before. The same individuals. That is what I hear from my officers. We arrest them, and then we have to deal with them again. Shooting incidents, murders. What's right about that?
Tonight, it has the attention of the Louisiana District Attorneys Association.
It's a real problem. And it's one of those things, this is going to sound kind of quippish, but it's not. It's not a problem until it's a problem. And when it's a problem, Chris, it's a real problem.
Loren Lampert is the executive director of the DA's Association.
There's not an easy button, but we sure got to be intentional.
He says judges have a tough job in setting bail, and trying to predict what someone may do is difficult.
They're not judging guilt at that point. They're assessing risk. And that risk is, will they flee, and will they likely perpetrate additional crimes if they're not detained?
In this case, Pettis is accused of reoffending at least twice this month, and court documents show the judge, Ebony Rose, is responsible for reducing his bond conditions that allowed him to walk the streets unmonitored.
You want a risk assessment that is accurate, that can protect the public from, look, absconding is one thing. We'll usually find people, but whenever there's a substantial risk of future, more perpetration of crimes, especially violent crimes, then we want the courts to err on the side of caution.
Billy Pettis is currently being held in the East Baton Rouge Parish Jail with no bond. Prosecutors were opposed to his bond conditions being lifted earlier this year. Michael?
Just an incredible story. So we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk with Chris about the details behind this amazing story. Stay right there. You know, we talk a lot about crime here in Louisiana, and specifically in Baton Rouge, and this story by Chris Nakamoto was amazing. You just saw it in its entirety. So let's go on the inside of this first. What was the reaction to this investigative piece?
Immediately, people were extremely upset. They were calling for the judge to be removed from the bench. They were calling for sanctions. They just could not believe that somebody could literally unleash someone on the community with this type of rap sheet, 5 pages long, multiple arrests, not only for murder, armed robbery, theft, burglary. We're talking about somebody who is a danger to the community. And the big question is that we don't know is, did the judge have all of that information when she set the bond? And obviously her judicial canons prohibit her from speaking about it. But the problem is the community needs to know, what did she know when she was setting this bond? Because if she didn't have that information, then that needs to change at a time a defendant is arrested to make sure that the judges have all the information at their fingertips. Let's face it, if you're going to a bank or you're going to sign some financial documents, before you put your name at the bottom of that, don't you think you would read the fine print?
Yeah.
And in this case, you would think that judges would be reading the fine print of these defendants' criminal histories before they put their name attached to it, because ultimately the public can see who put their safety at risk once these defendants get out and commit additional crimes.
It's so interesting, Chris, because we often hear stories about the shootings, and we don't often hear that the shooter has a rap sheet and is on the streets after having attempted murder against someone else. That's why this story is so amazing, because the obvious question is, well, why was he on the streets, or why was he able to do this if he's suspected of murdering someone, some years ago? What about people on the inside? I saw that you spoke with the District Attorneys Association. Do they have a game plan to address this, to make this not something that happens again?
They are. They are actually meeting with other DAs across the state. This isn't just a problem that's happening in Baton Rouge. Judges across the state need as much information as possible when they are setting bond. I think what was unique about this situation was the defendant went in and said, I can't afford these conditions that you placed on me. Well, the next logical thing should have been, okay, well, let's see if there's another way for you to get the money to afford this, or is there a program out there? But instead, to just remove somebody from their conditions altogether when they're facing a murder charge, I mean, that really resonated with the community. And last year, in December of 2020, we actually did a huge expose on the bond problem here in Baton Rouge. We featured 3 individuals, Myoshi Edwards, Shaquem McNeil, and one other individual as well. But anyway, they were arrested 3 different times out on multiple different bonds. And as they're going through the system, part of their bond conditions are you can't commit additional crimes. Well, how does somebody end up on the streets with 3 different bonds when their first bond condition said no additional crimes? Then they get arrested. Their second bond condition says no additional crimes. Why are the bonds not being revoked? And it ran the gamut. Some of these judges are retired, but Judge Higginbotham, Anderson, Daniel, Smith, Crafassi, Balfour, I mean, Marabella. And so, I mean, it's not just happening with one judge in the 19th. It's happening across the system. And when you see these types of situations unfold, the public has legitimate concerns about whether or not their safety is at risk when you're unleashing somebody. And these are violent crimes. I mean, these are weapons with drugs, somebody who's firing a weapon at somebody, firing a weapon by a convicted felon. And these are arrests after their original arrests.
Right.
So at what point do we revoke the bonds? Obviously, we don't want to overcrowd the prisons. I think there's been a huge criminal justice reform that we've seen statewide. And there's a push to get people out of the prisons. But at some point, if it's their family members that are getting killed or their family members that are getting shot at, I bet you they may look a little further into their history.
You know, I was at that press conference when the chief addressed arresting the same guys over and over and over again, and you played a part of it in your piece. Very well done. And he was passionate about it's the same guys. The Baton Rouge Police Department has a closure rate right at or above the national average. They're catching the guys, but it's the same guys over and over again. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, you can imagine the frustration, okay? If you're doing work and then somebody goes behind you and undoes it, and then you have to go back and do it again, and then somebody goes back and undoes it, and then you have to do it again a 3rd time. Can you imagine the frustration? And then compound that by public safety. You're out tasked with trying to keep the streets safe, and then you have people in the judicial system that are undoing the hard work that you're doing. I mean, these people aren't getting arrested because somebody said, oh, I think they did it. There's usually evidence tied to it, you know? And yeah, just because the criminal justice process is slow, where they have to wait for a trial, doesn't mean that there can't be a formula in place that keeps the streets safe as well.
Amazing job. You got to come back because you got one next week, so I might have you back as soon as next week with the story that's coming up next week. How much time do I have, Ed? Are we under 30 seconds? Pretty close. Quickly, what's that story about? 10 seconds.
That's a good story. I'm not going to say which state agency it is, but taxpayers foot the bill for millions of dollars worth of outside legal work for a public entity when they have a legal division with 53 employees.
He may be back next week. Back to talk about infrastructure in just a moment. State Senator Rick Ward represents Louisiana's 17th Senate District and is here with us in studio to talk about this massive infrastructure bill that was signed by President Biden days ago, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. There are going to be billions coming into Louisiana to address infrastructure and high-speed internet, and in some places in the country, they're addressing access to clean water. So, what's your overall take of this package and what it could do?
Yeah, well, look, regardless of how you feel about how they got there to getting to it, we know here in Louisiana, one of our biggest needs is infrastructure. Yep. We have not really addressed that in any major way in almost 40 years, and so it's exciting to see those dollars come in. And I think the biggest task now is making sure we put them to good use and do it in a timely fashion so we can see the results of it.
So before we get into this bill specifically, there were some American Rescue Plan dollars that have come into the state. I mean, East Baton Rouge Parish has gotten a lot of money, other places have as well. What's happening with that money?
So that stuff is also going through the process of being allocated. You've got money that deals with internet and rural broadband. Right. You've got things to deal with water and sewer systems that are failing. We're trying to address that. And so there's different pots of money. Like everything else dealing with government, in particular the federal government, you have to go through these very specific processes before you can start spending those dollars. And so it's a little bit time consuming, but those processes have been started and we're working our way towards getting those things going.
As a point of fact, Fred Rayford was here maybe a month or so ago and talked about how Baton Rouge has money to address drainage and bridges, but he said, look, people want to know when is it going to happen. He said, when we develop a plan, we can't turn dirt until the Army Corps says you can, or the federal government. So it isn't as simple as you got the money, now go do it. There's a long process, and that's kind of what I want to drill down on. Why haven't we changed that?
Well, so that process is not something we control here at the state level.
Sure.
It's a federal process that they need to address up there. For example, if a project here, no matter how big or how small, it could be a $100,000 project, it could be a $1 billion project. If you have to have federal permits in order to move forward with it, the studies that are required to get that accomplished can take 2 or 3 years. And so that's where it can become so frustrating, and people get, the general public, I get frustrated hearing about all these studies. It's not because of the state and things at the state level, it's the things that are required by the federal government in order to use the dollars, and those things have to be done. And so really what needs to happen from there is that they need to figure out a way to shorten those time frames up. You know, you can have a $100,000 project that needs to be done. There's no reason for that to have to be studied for 18 months.
Right. And especially when you know what the problems are. So here, we've got the interstate, which is federal highway. Right. And we know how antiquated it is as a structure. You get 6 lanes of traffic that you reduce to 2 and then 1, and then, I mean, it's just a nightmare. But within East Baton Rouge Parish, there are areas of concern and drainage. So how do you build a prioritization list to know where you start?
Well, I mean, and that can be difficult as well. I think, one of the best ways to do it is you try and figure out a way to address it where it creates as little backlog as possible, as well as whenever you're talking about disruption. So if I can do this project, and while I'm working on the next one, I can divert traffic over there.
Because Jefferson Highway is a nightmare. I'm sure it's driving people to drink every day if you got to work on Jefferson Highway.
So if you can try and stage them in a way that one relieves pressure off of the other before you do it, I think that's a good way as well.
So we were talking about this before we sat to do the interview here. We've had a list for years, wish list of things that a bridge and all these roads, and we've talked about it for years. The legislature never has the money because we're not exactly a wealthy state. This is the opportunity. You and your colleagues in the legislature, man, have a chance to make Louisiana really a shining star down here. How do we not blow it?
Well, I mean, I think the first step thankfully, we actually took last session,
Yeah.
whenever we passed a infrastructure bill of our own, which redirected about $300 million a year into DOTD,
Right.
which is going to be, in fact, we'll probably have to move the start date up now.
Okay.
Because it's going to be necessary to have those extra dollars to even to be able to afford to draw down the federal funds.
Right, right.
And so I think that's step one, and we've partially taken that step, and I think we did a really good job as the legislature doing that, kind of knowing that the federal infrastructure package may be coming.
Mm-hmm.
The second part is actually delivering the projects. You know, we've got a wish list, and it's been there a long time. But don't come up with excuses why. Even if we have to narrow it down, make sure those things get delivered.
Well, hang on. We're going to take a quick break and come back and continue with Senator Ward about this infrastructure package and talk a little bit about the insurance issue that's going on now. If you get a chance, download my podcast at podcast225.com. Gordy Rush is on talking about the new $95 million man. Woo. Back in just a moment. So Senator Rick Ward is still here talking about the money coming into Louisiana. You know, we complain about a number of things here infrastructure-wise. What would be top on your list? If you're building the list, what's number one for you?
Well, I think for this region, for the Baton Rouge region, it's got to be a new bridge, and not just a bridge, but really a bypass around the south end of Baton Rouge. And the reason for that is if you just put a new bridge and you don't put it in the right place and you really don't connect I-10 on the west side of the Mississippi River to I-10 somewhere south of Baton Rouge, all you're doing is helping people cross back and forth in and out of the congestion. So you really needed to divert, you know, as many vehicles as you can around the outskirts of the city.
Listen, I was joking with Mel during the commercial break about the line. You were telling me that it's Jim Bernhard's line that it's the, you know why they call it the Audubon Bridge is because it ought to have been built somewhere else. It should have been between East and West Baton Rouge. So, you know, turf wars. Every time we get in the legislative cycles and there's some money, there's turf wars between the northern part of the state and then the southern part, and how the middle part here, the Acadianas. How do we hold the line to make certain that turf wars don't delay what the people require, which is better infrastructure?
Well, I think you've got a couple of things working in your favor. I think now between the infrastructure bill that the Louisiana legislature passed last year and between what is going to be coming into the state from the federal government, you will have more dollars available to try and address more of the issues statewide. And I think if you look back at some of the things we've done in the state legislature over the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, we've done a very good job of trying to address the needs on a regional basis in a way that didn't create those turf wars.
Yeah.
You may have had a little bit, but we ultimately got something done that addressed a major need in each region of the state.
Okay.
And so I think that's the way you do it.
Quickly here, we got a couple minutes. I want to talk about the insurance companies. Recently, the insurance commissioner was talking to colleagues in the legislature about Hurricane Ida and the delay and the stall tactics, quote unquote, that insurance companies are employing now. How do we make certain the people who are paying for this get what they pay for? How do we do that?
I mean, I think you really have to, we've tried to reform all sorts of different things, the judicial system, a number of different topics always come up when you're talking about insurance rates and all those sorts of things. The part that I feel like is always left out of the equation is it's great if you get to where I'm paying $30 extra a month, but it really doesn't do me any good if when the roof is blown off of my house, I can't get what I've been paying for.
Right.
And so we really need to dive into maybe some insurance reform and look into how do you hold the companies accountable when they're intentionally delaying things?
Sure.
That's not to say that you don't have some obscure claim here or there where there's some doubt as to what caused it.
Right.
But whenever you're on the heels of a hurricane, everybody knows what happened.
It's obvious. And it's a business. Everybody gets it, but some accountability. Look, I want to get you to come back in January as the year starts before the legislative session. Are you going to run for governor?
I don't know. It's something I'm still talking about with my family and considering.
That's not a no.
It's not a no at this point. It's not a yes. I'm not a candidate right now, but it's a big decision. I have a young family, and you know, it's a possibility. But we'll get to that early next year sometime in the decision-making process. But you never know. So.
Are you quickly in 10 seconds here? Are you optimistic about what next year will look like?
I am. I think we've got a lot of fresh minds in the legislature, a lot of people that want to make sure that all these new dollars that are coming in are spent correctly, and not just spent correctly, but done in a timely manner where people see some results.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, I hope you got the meat sweats from Thanksgiving. Welcome back. A lot more still to do. See you next week.